Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. Just want to let you guys know that the Games and Gain shirts are back for the holidays, and if you order during the time that they're available, you should be able to get them by Christmas, and you'll also get a funny little Kappa sticker along with your purchase. But anyways guys, just want to give you a quick heads up about these shirts. Thank you so much for your support in making these campaigns successful, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Thanks for watching, dudes. Peace!
Couldn't survive on the battlefield. Now I'm starting to hear a beautiful nightmare, 'cause it was worth it.
Hey, what's up guys? Bajheera here. So for this video, we're going to be taking a look at some very exciting talents that pertain specifically to Legion. In Legion, we're going to have a whole new talent tree based around PvP. So if you guys have paid any attention to the announcements, one of the big changes they're making for PvP is how your, basically how the points that you receive from PvP work. Instead of becoming honor points, which is a currency that you spend on gear and things like that, honor is now going to be more of an experience sort of thing. And while you gain experience through PvP, you're going to have the option to choose some pretty sweet talents along the way. And later on, you can choose the prestige, which is to reset your honor experience, basically, for the reward of, like, some aesthetic rewards, some stuff like maybe some transmog or things like that. We don't know a whole lot about it, but we do know that they're going to be PvP talents, and that's what I want to look at right now. So, of course, which class am I going to start with, right? We're going to start with Warrior. And we're going to start with the Arms Warrior talents, because your talents do change depending on which spec you take. So you can see they change up a little bit depending on if it's Fury or Prot. But some things don't change. And I think a lot of classes are going to have, like, these first two lines, at least for a lot of melee, are probably going to look really similar. So let's like go ahead and just get started. The first thing that you can get, oh yeah, by the way, these talents are unlocked from left to right as well. So you need a certain amount of experience to unlock this one. So this one down here is like the highest talent in terms of what level you need to be experience-wise. But anyway, you'll unlock them all as you go. But yeah, they unlock from left to right. Just keep that in mind. So the first one you have is the Gladiator's Medallion. This is going to look very similar to any PvP trinket that you see in the game. It removes all movement impairing effects and all effects which cause loss of control of your character. It is the PvP trinket. So yes, everybody, baseline, is going to have a PvP trinket if they do PvP, which is pretty freaking cool. So that's going to mean that racials are going to be a little bit different. People are going to have a lot more options in terms of what sort of trinkets they want to use for their characters. So this is going to make a lot less people fuss about humans being OP, I imagine. And it's going to give you a lot more choices on what sort of character you want to play, if that's a big deal to you. But you also have some other options along this tree. Adaptation. All full loss of control effects with a duration of 5 seconds or longer will be removed shortly after being applied. This effect has a 1.5 minute cooldown, so this will automatically remove any full CC on you that has a 5 second or longer duration. So that's like if you just don't want to press trinket, I guess, it just will remove it. And I don't think that there's going to be any free action trinkets available, so it's not like you can have adaptation and a trinket. I think this basically is going to be, if you don't care what CC hits you, you'll get out of it slightly more often, since it's 1.5 minute cooldown. I don't think this is a good idea if you're like an arena player, because you don't usually just want to trinket the first full CC on you, especially as a healer. So that's something to consider. I don't think that's going to be the main choice. Relentless, here's another sort of, you don't ever have to worry about anything. In terms of pressing a button, you never have to decide which CC you get out of, because this is just going to be the duration of incoming crowd control effects is reduced by 25%. So every CC that hits you, it's gonna stick. You don't have any way of breaking out of it unless you have some way to break out of it as a, if you're like a DK or something. If you're a monk, you can break out of CC, and you say, okay, I can break out of the CCs that matter to me. I mean, I have to sit some things like blinds and stuff, but if I sit a blind, it's gonna be shorter. So you're gonna have some options. I think some classes might choose some of these talents, but I think the mainstay for a lot of people is just going to be straight up Gladiator's Medallion. But what's going to be really fun is to see how people decide to use these talents, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some creative ways of using these. I mean, for example, like a Frost DK, like a Troll Frost DK, they're going to have duration of CC on them really, really low already. And like an orc, like a stun is already reduced by a fairly substantial amount. So maybe stuns on orcs are going to be very, very short with the Relentless talent or something like that. So there could be some ways that people are going to use these. I just think that in most cases, people are going to stick with that good old Gladiator's Medallion. All right, so the second row. This is something I think is going to be fairly consistent for like melee classes. I feel like maybe like casters will have another row. We can check on that in another video, but I definitely want to go over the warrior one. So for here, we've got hardiness. These are like kind of tanky defensive talents. This one was basically about CC. This one's basically about being a little bit more hardy, thus the hardiness for a PvP. So this one says, while above 80% health, you take 20% less damage. So it's going to be a little bit harder for you to get chunked right off the bat. So if some teams come out of the gates popping their cooldowns instantly, you're going to have a 20% damage reduction on those, on those initial cooldowns. Plus, this also gives your healers a reason to keep their teammates topped on health as much as possible, rather than maybe like a shaman who relies on their shaman mastery healing more when their teammates are lower. This is going to give you a big boost to your defensive capabilities while at full health. So, that's going to be that could factor into a lot of different things, But I definitely can see it being a reason why healers want to keep their teammates out there. Like, hey, I'm going to try to keep you guys full health all the time. Make sure that you use hardiness for that extra 20% damage mitigation. So that could be cool. And I can also imagine that being good against like teams with a really strong out of the gate opener, like I mentioned. That 20% damage makes a big difference. So we also have reinforced armor. This is just straight up health increased by 10%. So if you're like, you know what, I don't anticipate being above 80% health a whole lot during this fight or whatever, it would be nice, but I think reinforced armor is going to be a bigger deal. It's going to give me, flat 10% health increase. Maybe a Fury Warrior is going to want this because they already have some health scaling attributes anyway. So maybe you want increase 10% health, just you don't really want to mess around with any of these mechanics. You just like that one. Sparring, though, is an interesting one. Physical melee attacks have a 20% chance to be blunted, dealing 50% reduced damage. So if you're fighting a team that has a lot of physical damage and you anticipate taking a lot of damage from those physical damage dealers, you might want to take this talent just because it gives you, it's 20% chance, so it's not a super high chance, but it's not super low either, of attacks being, halved in terms of their damage they deal. That's a big difference between, taking a full damage, Colossus Smash Mortal Strike versus dealing a half damage Colossus Smash or Mortal Strike. That's a big difference. So, I can definitely see people taking this if they're dueling too. The 10% health might be nice, the above 80% health might be nice, but, if you're getting down to the wire and you need some of those attacks to just, deal reduced damage against you, I can see people taking sparring. It's interesting choices. But this is definitely your defensive talent tree. For me, I think hardiness is still looking really interesting just because those openers, and there's going to be multiple times when you're full health. So all these, like this one looks like it's like, oh, it's only 80% health, but I think all of these are kind of like a long-term, like it gives you some defensive longevity too. They're going to be useful in a lot of situations. This one might not be useful for warriors outside of arena or battlegrounds. If you don't have a healer, this one's probably not very useful. These two still remain useful, but this one's not going to be useful if you're fighting a caster, so I can definitely see all of them being used in certain situations for dueling or arena, but they're all pretty cool. Let's move on. This is a really neat talent row right here. This one all has to do with your execute. So the first talent is Death Row. You can now execute targets at or below 25% health. So it's usually 20, now it's 25. So that's a little bit more range where that execute comes into play, which is a big deal. Right now in Warlords of Draenor, execute hits really hard and often can lead to a killing blow right off the bat. So some people say that when you're against an arms warrior, you only have an 80% of your health bar, which is sometimes true because execute hits really hard. A lot of plate classes, a lot of classes can survive executes, like a Death Knight, for example, can definitely survive execute sometimes. But this makes it even that more deadly, just because it usually will kill your opponent regardless, and 25% isn't going to be enough to probably have them survive an execute, but it will definitely give you another chance for you to catch him with one, which is really cool. This is also really neat. Blood Hunt. When within 10 yards of your enemies at execute range, your movement speed is increased by 15% and all snares are suppressed for 5 seconds. And I'm wondering if by suppressed it means like you can't be snared or the snare is reduced on you, but it says suppressed. So basically you're going to move faster and be snared less in some way, which is really, really cool because it lets you chase down people in execute range, which is what you want to do anyway. And then you can take that talent one step further if you get more experience, and you can go to Death Sentence. Execute now has a 15-yard range, causing you to charge to targets when used, which is incredible. So the increased movement speed is great, and definitely something that people will probably use, but you know, just to get out of snares in the first place, like, that's great. Any way to break snares is really cool. It does require that they're within execute range, though, so you know, that's definitely a time that you don't want to be snared, though, so I get it. That's definitely cool, but charging people to execute them, that is really cool, and something I'm really excited about using. Keep in mind that is a little bit higher on the talent, or on the experience level, so you're going to have to level up your honor experience to get all the way up there. But it's definitely going to be really cool. Alright, this next one, these all have to do with the way that you generate rage. So this is already a really nice talent. It's one that we have in our 4-piece right now. It's called Rage Machine. Attacks against you generate 5 rage. Now, not every attack against us right now generates 5 rage, because that could be a whole lot of rage generation right there. But, you know, at the same time, if you're not getting hit very often, you're only getting 5 rage per hit, and it's not that much. We will have to see how, you know, our rage spending lines up with our rage generation, because that could affect the talent choices that we pick. But we also have some of these talents too. Tenderizer. Auto attacks against targets above 80% health generate 5 rage. So, you know, that's another talent that has to do with people's health bar. This is a more offensive talent, I suppose. This is going to be one that definitely loses effectiveness if people aren't above 80%, obviously. Like, this gives you nothing if people aren't above 80% health. I mean, it's nice. I guess if you want to start the match off with a lot of rage, it could be useful, but I feel like this is the least useful one. This one gives you a chance to generate rage even when you have to go defensive, perhaps. If you want to be in defensive stance, you still want to be able to generate rage. Now, keep in mind, defensive stance does reduce your damage dealt by 25% too, according to the tooltip that we saw, so I'm not going to rely on that. But if you're in battle, Rage Machine is always going to help you if you're taking damage. Tenderizer loses effectiveness pretty much, you know, instantly when targets are, you know, above or below 80% health, which is what you want them to be, ideally. This talent, though, is pretty cool. This used to be a glyph. Rage gained from charge increased by 15. So that's just a huge chunk of rage. It's less steady because you're going to be doing, obviously you're going to be auto-attacking at some point. And I think this is still the best talent. Attacks again, you generate rage, but if you're going to be charging fairly often in the battle too, especially if you have multiple charges of charge, you know, then this is going to synergize really well with another talent that we're going to look at in 1 second. But I think Rage Machine is really good. I think this is probably second best. Maybe. Arguably, you know, a great talent. I don't think Tenderizer is going to be the one that we use most often, but hey, if you want to get a really strong opener, or you find that, you know, you're attacking targets that have, you know, high health a lot of the time, you know, if they have like a healer that either they're low or they're topped, like a Paladin maybe, something like that, maybe Tenderizer is the choice. But let's move on, because these talents are interesting. These start to branch out a little bit. These are all pretty different, but pretty cool. All right, so here we have Intercept. You'd be like, oh man, Intercept's back. But before you get too excited, go ahead and look down at the very bottom. It says this ability replaces charge. So there we go. Run at a high speed toward an ally or enemy. It's 20-second recharge. When targeting an enemy, Intercept will root them for 1.5 seconds. When targeting an ally, Intercept will intercept all melee and range attacks against them within 10 seconds while the target remains within 10 yards. So it will intercept all melee and range attacks against them within 10 seconds? That seems a little insane. What's the cooldown on this thing? It replaces charge. So 20-second recharge. And you can absorb all melee and range attacks for 10 seconds? That's actually incredibly insane. I wonder if that's, I don't know. That's crazy. That's kind of catching me off guard right now. And it generates 10 rage. So you kind of have to choose whether you want to charge or intervene if you're going to do that. But that's crazy. Every attack for 10 seconds? That's like, that's almost like 100% immunity. Like if somebody's training your healer and you give them intercept, like I'm taking every little bit of damage that you can take except for dots maybe for 10 seconds. And it's a 20-second recharge, but sometimes you can have 2 charges. So, you know, what if you took like double time and, or it's not, I don't think it's called double time anymore. What if you took double time and intercept? You could like shield somebody for like a solid 20 seconds. That's crazy. Anyway, so that, depending on how all that shakes out, intercept could be ridiculous. But you also have something really cool called Pain Train. which makes charge reset the cooldown of your Colossus Smash. So every time you charge somebody, you've probably got a Colossus Smash Mortal Strike combo ready for them. So you could absolutely chunk people constantly. That's a really cool cooldown right there. Pain Train. But then you also have Booming Voice, which is also just absolutely bonkers. Because your Battle Shout, keep in mind, Battle Shout is now Recklessness. So basically your Recklessness, which is a 100% crit chance for 5 seconds, now affects all nearby allies within 10 yards. So you and your melee cleave buddy both have 100% crit chance for 5 seconds. Now, if hunters still have, you know, their sacrifice ability, which makes whoever it's used on have no crits against them for 5 seconds or whatever, that's gonna be kind of a bummer. But regardless, outside of that, that's gonna be an insane cooldown for classes who do burst damage. Because you're gonna have, like, and it doesn't even have to be a melee cleaver. I mean, you could just say, hey, dude, get within 10 yards of me so I can give you 100% crit chance. That's insane. So this talent right here is just nuts all the way across the board. Tough choices, but all of them really cool choices. All right, so now we have Wrecking Crew. This is another one that affects Colossus Smash. I think 2 of these affect Colossus Smash, and the last one affects Mortal Strike in a really cool way. So this is Wrecking Crew. Colossus Smash effect now is applied to all nearby enemies within 8 yards of the target. So if you're in a BG and you Colossus Smash somebody with this talent, everybody is going to be taking a certain amount of extra damage depending on your mastery. So you can Colossus Smash one target, everybody is going to take extra damage, and then you Blade Storm them and AoE them down. That's going to be insane. So Wrecking Crew, and I wonder if that also, I don't think that means that anybody else takes extra damage from I mean, I don't think your Colossus Smash affects your other party members' damage, but imagine, like, you know, popping, you know, maybe if you have Booming Voice, Colossus Smash, and Blade Storm, and then you have your other people Blade Storm as well, that's going to just absolutely wipe an entire group of people with that damage. It's going to be insane. But if you want a little more single target, you can also have Echo Slam. Colossus Smash deals an additional 10% of the target's total health and damage 2.5 seconds later. But this does ignore all armor. So this is a guaranteed 10% chunk of somebody's health 2.5 seconds later. So that's going to be some bursts that catch people off guard. So you Colossus Smash, and then you're going to Mortal Strike, and then if you have like a Sudden Death Execute proc or something, that Sudden Death Execute proc is going to hit alongside the Echo Slam. I don't even know if you have Sudden Death actually anymore as a warrior. But regardless, maybe you have Overpower, you have Slam. Those slams or whatever are going to be hitting along with that 10% chunk of somebody's health. So that could catch people off guard with a lot of damage. But the last talent, Sharpened Blade, is insane. When activated, your next Mortal Strike will deal 50% increased damage. So it increases the damage, first of all, and also reduces healing taken by 70% for 4 seconds. So they're going to be receiving hardly any healing, and you're going to be dealing more damage with an absolutely huge Mortal Strike. So all these are pretty insane burst talents. All these are really good. This is a more AoE one. This is a more like consistent single target damage. This one is just gnarly. You can use this on anything. I mean, you're going to hit somebody really hard and reduce the healing taken by a ton. So all these talents are really, really neat. I'm really excited about it. One of the things about Legion right now is that a lot of things just seem like broken, like OP. But I think every class, if they have broken OP, really cool mechanics that everybody's excited about, I think that's how it should be. Everybody should love their class and be really excited about how it plays. And I'm definitely excited about a lot of things I'm seeing for Warrior. But if we go to Fury, you see that only a few things change. All these talents are the same. Only the last two change. But let's take a look at them. So we have Leap. We're not sure what Leap is, I guess. But maybe they're the only ones with Leap. But they have something. It says 100-yard range. I don't think that's true. We could check a different source to verify that. But Leap right now it's in there. Something cool is happening with Leap. We have to take a look at it later. But we have Temper Control. Enraged regen's cooldown is now reduced to 30 seconds, but now only heals 15% of your maximum health. So that's down from like was it like a 2-minute cooldown? But you could actually reduce that some other way, I thought. But only heals you 15% of your maximum health. But every 30 seconds, a 15% heal. Maybe cool. Maybe. I want to look at Thirst for Battle, though. Bloodthirst clears all snares and increases your movement speed by 50%. So if it actually cleared all snails, that'd be really useful in that Mist of Pandaria dungeon where the snails killed you. But I'm pretty sure that removing all snares is better, and it speeds you up. So I don't remember what the cooldown on Bloodthirst is, but if you can get out of snares every like couple seconds and run faster for 2 seconds, that's really freaking cool. Fury, like the fact that it takes 30% extra damage is kind of being outweighed by how insane like everything else about it is. Like I love arms, and I'm definitely expecting to play arms, But Fury seems like so much fun in all the right ways. Like, you're gonna get two-shotted, but you have all these insane, like, movement speed, self-healing mechanics. I'm really excited about Fury, actually. And Burst. Like, cannot discount the Burst of Fury. It's gonna be ridiculous. But you also have Slaughterhouse when you go down. When you use Bloodthirst, the damage is increased by 1% and the cooldown is reduced by 1 second for every 1% health the target is missing. So, if you have any cooldown on Bloodthirst, it's going to be removed once they hit, like, what, 50% health? Like, so, actually, not even 1% health. It's going to be removed at, like, 95% health. Reduced by 1 second for every 1% health the target is missing. So, basically, if you have done any damage to your target, it's going to have no cooldown. Now, I'm wondering if this tooltip doesn't reflect the actual numbers, but either way, like, the cooldown being reduced is going to be one thing, because it's going to be reduced basically as soon as your target hits, like, what, 95, 94% health, if the cooldown is, like, 5-6 seconds like it is now. But the damage is also going to be increased. So when they're, like, 50% health, you're going to be dealing 50% more damage with Bloodthirst, which is an ability that you're going to be hitting often. And if you have this Thirst for Battle, you're going to be speeding after them, you're going to be unsnareable, as long as you have something in your range to Bloodthirst. Like, if you get snared and they're kiting you, like, you have nothing to Bloodthirst, like, what good is that going to do you? But if something is nearby you, like, you're actually able to hit a target and you can Bloodthirst consistently and get out of snares and slows and stuff like that, you're going to be happy. You're going to be able to have a lot of uptime on your target. Along with Slaughterhouse, it's just buffing Bloodthirst even more, which is cool. Endless Rage. Increases the duration of your Enrage effect by 2 seconds, and your Raging Blow refreshes the duration of your Enrage. So the one thing that it increases the duration of your Enrage is awesome. You know, Enrage is your bread and butter as a Fury Warrior. When you're Enraged, that's when you're dealing the most damage. But this also gives you your, I believe it was like your 2-piece from, you know, one of the set bonuses from WoW, where Raging Blow refreshes the duration of your Enrage. That is insane. That is so freaking good. The fact that you can just stay enraged constantly as long as you can Raging Blow. That is so good. Man. But now, I bet Death Wish is going to be insane too, because all these are good. Death Wish says, increases your damage done by 5% at the cost of your health, stacks up to 5 times. So, as a Fury Warrior, your mastery is already going to be at, like, what, at least like 20% or something like that with gear. And then you have another 25% if you want to sacrifice your health for that. That's just craziness, man. Fury Warriors are going to be, they're like, the fantasy of Fury Warriors is just absolutely crazy, man. This is so cool. But yeah, all these talents look great. I don't know about temper control as much, but if you want more consistent healing, then 50% is fine. I want to know what Leap is. I bet we can check out some other website to see if they have it, but maybe not. But all these talents are sweet. We can look at Prot, though, because they still have Prot PvP talents. So, Leave No Man Behind is using Intervene on allies, reduces all damage they receive by 90% for 1.5 seconds. So, if you can, like, intervene, like, a big attack or something, that's a big deal. Morale Killer, Demoralizing Shout, now reduces the damage enemies deal to all targets, not you. That's really important. That's kind of how Demo Shout was before, but now it's even better, which is awesome. A Shield Bash. Well, this is more like Demoralizing Banner, but now it's the Demoralizing Shout, which is really good. Shield Bash. It's a instant 10-second cooldown. Is this a interrupt? Ooh. Bash a target with your shield, dealing a certain amount of physical damage and reducing their damage done by 50%. If the target is casting, the cooldown is instantly reset. Oh, nice. So it doesn't actually interrupt them, but it makes them deal less damage. So that's pretty annoying. All these are kind of like damage reduction talents, if you noticed. So Thunderstruck. Thunderclap also roots all targets for 1 second. Oh, man, that's going to be annoying. That's awesome, though. And Warpath. You stun all targets you pass through with Intercept and land on top of it with Heroic Leap for 2 seconds. That's really cool. So just increase stun. So these are kind of like a little annoyance talents that Prot can do. That's kind of how Prot is. It's not like a huge damage thing. I'm glad it has some utility, though, for your teammates, because that's kind of how Prot was before. Is like, you're going to be really hard to kill, but you don't bring anything to the team. But now you do. You have stuns, roots, if you choose them, and some damage reduction. So that's all really cool. So these talents, man, I'm loving the way that the warrior talents look, and I'm sure every other class has just like absolutely off-the-wall talents as well. But like I said before, that's kind of how I feel like the feel of Legion is going, where every class has really exciting talents that everybody's pumped about, and it all seems OP, but it all fit together nicely, or just be like crazy, which is also good. Because if everybody's insane, then it'll work out pretty nicely. And if you don't like your class's talents, you can always just scroll down to the Morton's Salt Rub and just rub some salt on yourself. Perfectly placed ad, I think. I scrolled up like, oh my gosh, sea salt rubs. Just rub it on. If you don't like the talents, if you don't like Legion, just rub some salt on yourself and call it good, because I'm really excited, and I hope you are too. Either way, guys, that's going to bring us to the end of this Warrior PvP Legion talent system video. I'll definitely keep you guys in the know about warrior changes as they come up, and I'll probably also do some other classes as well. Either way, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!